Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen, TGIF. Before we even start, I have to make a correction to yesterday's video where I covered that the US government was spending almost $300 million to buy some anti-radiation medications. Now, I just took it as face value, but the premise behind that part of the video was that the government is not going to buy these things on your behalf. They're not buying these things to protect you. They're doing it to protect themselves. Now, I watched a video last night by Canadian Prepper, and then I watched one this morning by Pinball Preparedness. And it's what I love about the preparedness community, ladies and gentlemen. It's why I tell you, don't get stuck on one channel. Don't get stuck on one thing. Research and take a look at different views. Pinball Preparedness did some really good research on this, and what it turns out is that these medications are not those anti-radiation pills that I was thinking about. They are actual injections that cost upward of $1,200 per. Right? So when you take $1,200 per and divide it into $300 million, he said it comes out to about 250,000 doses. Right? So that 250,000 doses is a heck of a lot less than what I was thinking about if they were buying pills, which came out to millions of doses. So the premise behind that, in my perspective, from my view, is are they buying this for you, ladies and gentlemen, or are they buying this for them? And another part of my premise, which has been something that I've been going with for a while, is this. What can you do about this? If we do have some kind of a nuclear exchange, what can you do about it now? All you can do about it, ladies and gentlemen, is to prepare and to be good with your maker. Because there are some things you can control and some things that you cannot. Information is powerful, or information is power only if you use it. So I like to put those videos out like yesterday because I don't want people to get worried. Because getting worried is only going to take away your power to change what you can change. But there are so many things that we just can't change that when I look at something like this, you know, I'm like, well, it's the same perspective that I came from when, what if there's a tidal wave coming towards you? What can you do about it? How can you change that? Well, you can move. So you can maybe, if you think we're going to have a nuclear exchange, you can maybe move away from the areas that you think are going to be affected directly and move to other areas. Or if you think that we may have a big tsunami one day, you can move from areas where tsunamis would affect the people there. You can do that, right? That's a little bit drastic for a lot of people to be able to do, but you can do that. However, me, myself, and I prepare spiritually to make sure that the good Lord will accept me when the day comes because of things that are out of my control. And then I prepare those things that I can prepare, that I can have control over. So having said that, go take a look at Pinball Preparedness video. It is outstanding. This guy is a great researcher, a lot better than I am. Let me tell you that right now. We will hardly be able to avoid a gas emergency this winter if private and commercial industries don't reduce their intake by up to 20% this winter. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as this article states, it's how Germany has come to the realization that they will have an energy emergency this winter. What does energy emergency mean, ladies and gentlemen? Doesn't it just mean that people are going to run out of energy? That they're not going to have enough energy as to what they normally have to get through a regular winter? Let's see. Germany is entering a dark winter with too much natural gas consumption and may be unable to avoid an energy emergency in the months ahead. The head of the country's network regulator warned on Thursday, according to the Washington Post. And he said, quote, gas consumption increased by too much last week. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's winter time. What are you supposed to do? Remember when I talked to you about first order, second order, third, fourth order effects? How these people who sit in their ivory towers and know that their policies are not going to affect them personally, but that will affect their countrymen, the people that they're supposed to be representing, their constituents, how they already know this, but they don't think ahead 2 or 3 or 4 steps. And these are supposed to be educated people running the country. You know what? Running a country nowadays is nothing but running a business. So we have people here that can't run a business on their own, trying to run a country and destroying it. Yeah, things are great when you have all of the energy that you can get, you know, it through the back doors while you're putting down energy. So you're putting down fossil fuels, saying it's terrible, it's the devil. But at the same time, you're running your country with fossil fuels mainly. We are going to be facing harder and harder times as the years go by because of these policy changes that have been made in order to save the planet, but forsaking the people. With the bombing of the Nord Stream pipeline system in the Baltic Sea and overall reduced natural gas flows from Russia amid the Ukraine war, German households and businesses need to increase energy conservation more than ever as average temperatures across Europe's largest economies are set to slide to near 5 degrees Celsius in the second half of the month. And this is not even bad. It's going to get a lot worse than this. And your politicians, your government agencies, they're not going to be able to stop it, ladies and gentlemen. Polish households burn trash to stay warm as sanctions on Russia backfires. How many times have a lot of us here on YouTube and other social media platforms have been saying sanctions do not work? They do not affect those that made them, but they affect those that are supposed to be represented by those pundits that actually put those sanctions in place. Poland temporarily suspended air quality controls so people can burn coal for heating homes through next April to ease the worst energy crisis in a generation. Well, my question is this: what about the Earth? Isn't the Earth going to suffer from this? Aren't we going to have more global warming because of this? How in the world can they allow this to happen? We are destroying the Earth by burning trash, by burning wood. There used to be a time where a lot of these governments, and I'm not pinpointing any one government, I think you would agree with me that there used to be a time not too long ago where these governments were restricting wood, where they were restricting coal. They didn't even want people to have wood stoves in their homes. They were restricting all of this stuff, and now all of a sudden it's okay to do it. If it was not okay to do it a few months ago, why is it all of a sudden okay to do it now? Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for this winter. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. Prepare for this winter. Now governments understand that all of the laws that they've written in the past to satisfy their ideologies, to satisfy their own personal beliefs, instead of taking care of their constituents, they're backfiring on them, and now they're having to reverse course. How easily is it going to be for people to trust governments in the future when they go back to telling them, oh, we got to get off fossil fuels? I've stated in the past that this is going to be a time of great awakening. A lot of people are going to start waking up to the fact that a lot of these policies, a lot of these earth-saving measures, let's say, that have been put in place, it's not for the good of the people. All right, because you know what? After this winter, after all of these people burn all this trash and all of this wood and all of this coal and oil now that they want to get, after this winter's over, guess what? The earth is still going to be here. These things are a lot more polluting, all right? They pollute a lot more than if we were using natural gas, but they gave up that option to use natural gas, and now we have to go to something that's even worse. Natural gas is such a clean gas to burn, to heat homes, to run industry, but they gave that up. Why? Because they had to make a point and sanction the one country that was really supporting them with the fuel, the energy that they needed in order to run industry. Now, am I saying that the EU and even the US, to a certain extent, will make a comeback from this? Yes, but it's going to take years, ladies and gentlemen. It will take years. You can't just, print. You can't just print a power plant. You can't just print new natural gas facilities that can turn gas into LNG. You can't just print that out of thin air. You actually have to make it with stuff. So get ready for this winter. I've been talking about getting ready for this winter for months now. This will be a tough winter, but I think enough people will be awake after this winter is over to maybe make some change. But then again, we'll see. I'll probably be wrong about that as well. And this just goes to show how hypocritical governments are. Norway to boost oil and gas production as it expects record 2023 revenue. All right, let's take the revenue out of the way. All right, let's take the profit out of the way. But why are we boosting oil and gas production? I thought we didn't need that kind of stuff. I'm pointing these things out, ladies and gentlemen, in hopes that some people that haven't seen this wake up. Wake up that you do not matter. You do not matter. It's like a referee. Right? It's like a referee on a football field making up the rules as they go along. And as long as it benefits them, they'll change those rules whenever they want to. They'll say one thing during one quarter and then change their minds on the second quarter. Governments do not play by the rules. And that is why governments don't last forever. That is why there are revolutions. That is why empires fall. Because they don't play by the same rules all the time. It is a house that will eventually fall apart. Let me give you a great example. I wish I had a tape measure here, right? Well, here, I can use an example. I can use this pen. This is how you build a house that will certainly fall. So let's say this is a yardstick, 36 inches, and a carpenter is using this to measure out, his cuts that he has to make on his lumber. Now, let's say that when he starts, this yardstick is 36 inches. That's what it measures, 36 inches. But let's say that tomorrow, when he comes to work on the house again, that this yardstick now, instead of being this long, it's only this long. But it's still considered 36 inches. Right? It's just that the rules changed. Now, from here to here is 36 inches instead of from here to here. And then the next day when he comes back, maybe 36 inches will be up to here. Right? Or maybe one day 36 inches will be up to here. That is what governments do. They change the rules. They don't abide by the same rules all the time, even though they're the ones that make them. They change them when it benefits them, not you. Now imagine how that house is going to come out once it's been built. When you were representing 36 inches so many different ways, just because somebody changed the definition of what 36 inches is. That's what governments do. They change the definitions. They change the laws when it benefits them. It will never benefit you, ladies and gentlemen. And then eventually that house that they built on those laws that they changed, on those laws that they did not adhere to, the rule of law, instead of going by the rule of man, that house will eventually fall down. And we are experiencing that right now as Germans or people in the European nation are having to burn garbage as they are stealing wood. Not even stealing wood. Their governments say they're stealing wood because the public land that they go on to take wood from that are sustained with their tax dollars, now they're supposed to be stealing that. So now they're having to go through measures that they've never gone through before in order to survive this winter. Wood thefts are going up. I've gotten a few emails about this. That people are stealing wood from their neighbors because they know they're not going to have enough to get by this winter. Wouldn't you have been a lot better off if you started preparing 6 months ago? Even if it was just 6 months ago that you had woken up to the fact that we need to prepare. Wouldn't you have been better off? Well, I've got good news for you, ladies and gentlemen. Things are not good right now, but they're going to get a lot worse. And the good news is that you still have time to get prepared. You still have time to go out there and get prepared. And if you're in one of these countries where time is running out because governments are making more and more difficult for you, then you're going to have to think outside the box. You're going to have to rely on community and help each other out through this winter. Because this is not going to be an easy winter for many people. I see a lot of people perishing through this winter, not only from the cold, but also from the lack of sustenance. You all remember when the farmers in Norway were burning things and protesting, on the highways and things like this? Like, let's say, this is June 28th, not too long ago. Farmers burning hay bales on highway with more nitrogen policy protests expected, right? And I just read an article where it says Norway is to boost oil production. Well, if they are to boost oil production, why in the world can't these farmers farm their fields the way that they've always farmed them and have become like the superstars of farmers in the world? Norway, being a very small country, produces about the second most exports of food in the world. These guys are superstar farmers. And their politicians are wanting to take away the ability for them to actually produce food because of nitrogen. But now they see that they can make more profit pumping more oil out of the ground, and there's nothing wrong with it. Again, pointing out the hypocrisy, because it is you, ladies and gentlemen, that will pay the price. And now, as you see here, there's a paywall behind this, so that's why it's a little bit darker. As you see here, Norwegian farmers warn of vegetable shortage if energy support is not increased. Now, ladies and gentlemen, listen. I can say this all day long, but remember, this is one of the most important things that you need to understand in order for you to understand that you have to prepare for yourselves and your families. It is not you that the government wants to take care of. Actually, they really don't want to take care of anyone. They just want to control you. And before I talk about this next, this last article here that's up, let me tell you something. I love this country, the United States. I love it. When people are talking about diversity and inclusion and all that kind of stuff, I don't understand why people talk about this like as we need it. Here in the United States, we're kind of like the melting pot of the world. We have nationalities from, man, I would have to guess just about every country. I mean, just about every country. When I grew up in New York, not New York City, I grew up in the suburbs of New York. I mean, I really didn't know what race was because there was so many of them, right? In the school that I went to, all the way from kindergarten all the way up to high school. I really didn't know. But then as an adult looking back, I was like, man, I went to school with kids from Vietnam, from South Korea, from Puerto Rico, from Cuba, obviously from the Dominican Republic, like myself. I went to school with white kids, with black kids, you know, with kids that were really, really up there on the socioeconomic status, from dirt poor kids. Like, I wasn't dirt poor. You know, I had clothes and shoes. So I don't consider that dirt poor, but I was pretty poor growing up. But I had everything I needed. I had food, I had clothes, shoes, house, you know, warmth and all that stuff. And a mom and a dad that loved me, right? So I was pretty well off compared to a lot of other kids. But when a government forsakes you and then decides to take the resources that you would have otherwise been granted and give it to people that did not enter your country legally, I have a problem with that. And I think you should too. Let's say, for example, right now that you live in Florida and you were affected by the hurricane and you lost your home. But then you see the government allowing people that came into our country illegally, all right, illegally. There's a right way and a wrong way to come in, right? I had to wait in line for 3 years, 2 months, and 1 day to be able to come to this country, right? You can come in the front door and do it the right way and then become a productive member of the society in which you're integrating into. Right? But when you see that a government is nurturing more to those that have broken the law to enter into our nation or your nation, and then they are forsaking you, the citizen of the nation that pays the taxes, that contributes to our society, that makes the country what it is, then that is a very bitter pill to swallow. And then again, when that same government is telling you, you can't grow, you know, food on your farm, you're going to have to heat your house to a lot less this year than what you normally would have because of our policies. And then they go ahead and do something like this. And again, I'm not picking on any one country. This happens everywhere. Okay, I think it's happening here as well in New York. I think in New York City here, the same thing is happening with a cruise ship that is being leased out. Right here, migrants housed on a luxury 5-star cruise ship celebrate with viral TikTok videos as the countrymen, as the people of that country are suffering, as the people of that country are becoming more and more oppressed by what their governments are instituting upon them, saying you can't grow food, saying you can't burn this, you can't burn that, you can't keep warm. They spend those same people's tax dollars on entertaining or housing those that entered the country in a fashion that many would not consider legal, especially the rule of law. Like I said, there's a front door. This is not a video about immigration. This is a video, ladies and gentlemen, where I am trying to allow you to understand for yourselves that you're on your own. When you see this happen right here, you are on your own. when you see that your government cares more about a person or a people that is not even within your country yet, that they care more about them than you, the citizen, you are on your own. So you better get prepared. Having said that, I hope that I see you all this afternoon during our live stream. Again, go check out that video from Pinball Preparedness. I'll try to leave a card up here on the right-hand corner of the video to Pinball's video and also to Canadian Prepper's video. Go check them out on that $300 million purchase. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm human and I make mistakes. I can tell you that I did not really research that article when I read it. When I saw it, I automatically thought about those radiation pills. That's why I went with that, because that's what I thought they were talking about. All right, but it's a lot worse than what I thought, that they were able to get like 14 million doses instead of just, what, 250,000 doses. It just goes to show you that it's not for you. Having said that, have a great day. Again, we'll see you this afternoon during our live stream, 2 p.m. Alaska time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I am out.